Well, this one might be a little emotional for me. I think everybody that listens to this show knows how much I feel about this guy. He announced his retirement from the NFL just a couple of weeks back, and he's been a regular with us over the years. He's helped us help out the people in our community that need it, and he's just one of the best people that I've ever gotten to know that's worn the purple and black. He is the great Michael Pierce, and he is back with us this morning here on GCR. Michael, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up with you, brother. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Oh no, my pleasure, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Man, all right. So when did you know, Michael? Like, take me back. When did you know this was the last ride, and you had started to make peace with it?
I would say honestly, it's like OTAs. Uh, that OTA, the last OTAs we had there, obviously before, prior to this year, I tore my quad. Because it was an OTAs, it didn't make the media or anything, but that's why I set out all of the OTAs to follow and the little 3-day mini camp. But yeah, man, no, I tore my quad. We opted not to do surgery so I could play the whole season. And that rehab was just grueling, man. And then to be able to get myself back in shape and get myself ready for fall camp was obviously more hard because I had missed so many leg days and all these other things. So I promised my wife when I signed my 2-year extension, if I had, another surgery or something serious go on that, I would probably be done. And then, I tore my calf the same year, last year, and missed like 4 to 5 games. So at that point, I think that was
You said.
there was no convincing my wife there was nothing else to be done. So no, even though we made it back from the quad, the calf came up. So I've torn enough muscles and got acquainted with too many surgery rooms. So man, I love the game. Like I said, I'm still probably gonna be around the game in some capacity, probably for the rest of my life. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as me playing, brother, like I said, unfortunately, the trenches caught up to me.
I understand that, man. Was it at all tough knowing how well you've played these last couple of years? Like, to take nothing away from anything that you've done in the past in your career, but all the work you had to do to get back to this level, and then reminding everyone, no, this is who Michael Pierce is. There's a reason why I'm a starter in the NFL, and the time that I missed, forget about it. Did that make it tougher knowing what it took in order to get back to this level that you got back to in Baltimore?
Yeah, certainly, man. Like I said, it's hard to make people understand the amount of work that those guys and myself that goes into each and every season. Y'all see, strictly Sundays, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's 2 weeks after the season starts, you go back into a routine, trying to get yourself better and better and better for each and every season. So, no, man, it was a blessing to be able to play at a high level again. Despite my injury and then sitting out for COVID. But like I said, man, it was very hard. Like I said, I had a long talk with my dad, and he still felt like, and Coach Harbaugh actually mentioned he thought I could play for another 2 or 3 years.
Hmm.
This was before I even notified them that I would probably be retiring. So to have people just say that, and obviously to have the film speak for itself is awesome. But no, it definitely made it harder. But like I said, I always pride myself on trying to be a man of my word. And obviously, like I said, I couldn't expect a random season of luck after having those 2 major injuries. So I think my wife would be very, very pissed if I was prepping for OTAs next week. If that were today. So yeah, my home would not be happy, even though I probably would be having fun. I would not be coming home to a happy place.
Michael Pierce is with us here on GCR. I've had the pleasure to meet your wife a couple of times. She's an incredibly smart person. What was when you first got together? Like, was this part of the plan? Like, hey, I know that you guys have talked about other things that you want to do. Like, was this something that you had always kind of laid out about getting married and sort of starting that part of your life?
Yeah. So no, I actually announced the last time when I signed my extension
Mm-hmm.
in 2023. That would be the last contract that I signed.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I definitely intended on finishing out the contract, which would have been this past season. But yeah, man, we got married this will be our second year of marriage, but we want to have a kid, and more importantly for me, I want to be there for like
Yeah.
all the pregnancy days. I don't want to have to miss camp or miss something for my wife having a baby, and I'm not there all the time. So we're not pregnant as of yet, but that's something that we definitely plan on working on. So like I said, I just want to be present. I want to be around my family. Like I said, we've been playing the 9 years in the trenches, man. It was certainly a blessing, but it's time for me to give back to my community. Just find other ways I can impact. So
That's
maybe,
powerful.
one day Mr. DaCosta or Ozzy or somebody will give me a job and I can scout like Ozzy one day. Who knows? But no, man. Other than that, yeah, no, man. It's like I said, football will always be a part of my life.
That's awesome, man. Okay, so did the guys all know? Like, we know they would have lost their minds for the interception no matter what, because it's like the coolest thing we've ever
Mm-hmm.
seen in the history of football. But did they know the context as well? Like, were they aware that this was probably the end for you? And did you sense that some of that was coming out in that moment?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
They knew that I was supposed to retire after this season, though, because like I said, I made that announcement while I was on the Ravens podcast. But no, so they didn't necessarily know. I know a couple people like towards the end after we got over the Buffalo thing on the plane back was like, hey, you coming back next year, right? And I was
Hmm.
like, I don't know. So I obviously that was just not the right place or time. But yeah, man, no, I still took my time to think about it. But like I said, um, for me, it was just been, a far-fetched dream to assume I'll be healthy after having those two major injuries, and I dealt with a lot of pain this year. So, no, they didn't know, but like I said, I think God wrote me a beautiful ending to my last home
That's the
game.
part, right? Like, look, man,
Yeah,
I know it would have been better if it had been the Super Bowl. Like, I understand that. Like, that's the ending that you're
100%.
supposed to get in the movie. But to have that moment and the way the crowd reacted and the way that everybody on the sideline lost their mind the final time you were able to play, like, can you put into words what all of that meant to you?
Like I said, outside of being in the Super Bowl, which was not maybe 2 hours from my hometown, that is a storybook ending anybody else outside of Aaron Donald could write. Right? He won the Super Bowl and walked away. Kind of like, matter of fact, Ray Lewis.
Yep.
Same thing.
Yep.
So outside of those, super, super dream scenarios, it could not get any better from a nose guard from Mobile, Alabama. So, no, man, it's crazy how things work out. And like I said, I'm just grateful that I, one, caught the pass and then did not run too far to make it. Well, it went viral anyway, but it would have been worse,
Oh man.
especially limping down the sideline on a torn calf. That would have been hilarious. So, I kept my dignity, brother, and like I said, I made a memorable play. Like I said, for that to be my last home game, that was pretty awesome.
What you just alluded to, a nose guard from a small town in Alabama, undrafted, and someone who I think the word that I read, there wasn't even really a lot of a scouting tape on for the scouting services. To have had the opportunities that you've had, I've heard you use the word blessing a couple times, and I can feel it. And knowing you, I believe every ounce of it. But do you take a moment to reflect on how truly special this has been that you have been able to have as long of a run and all of the things that you've been able to do in this league?
Yeah, it took me a while, man. I just like my wife had put together like a lot of my friends, like just saying like nice things about my career and then fun 9 years it's been. It took me forever to watch that. I'm not gonna lie. But no, man, I just sat down one day and I just went through some stuff, and like I said, I was putting out YouTube videos at Sanford of my
Mm-hmm.
highlights, my junior year, my senior year, just in hopes that it didn't work like that. I didn't know that at the time, but in hopes that somebody see me lifting weights or doing something crazy to give me a chance to get to the NFL. So to be able to play in a storied franchise and have Haloti Nada know my name, Kelly Gregg, playing next to Terrell Suggs, Brandon Williams, Eric Weddle. I mean, I played with some Hall of Famers, man. Jack is gonna be a Hall of Famer one day. So it like it's literally inconceivable. So like I said, man, from trying to put out YouTube videos of highlights to squatting 700 pounds and assuming the NFL would see that on YouTube, didn't make a lot of sense, but like I said, from a boy from
It
Mobile,
worked.
I was doing the best I could. So no, man, for me to be able to, like I said, live and play in one of the most storied franchises in the NFL is just it's mind blowing, man. So that's why I always just tell everybody I'm just grateful to be here.
What about Baltimore, right? The fact that it started here and you were able to come back here and write two unbelievable chapters in a football life. What is this place? I wrote about in the Prentice Show press box what it meant to me that you wanted to do so many things for this community. Can you describe what Baltimore has meant to you in your life?
I mean, man, that's my second home. I was joking with my wife, but I wasn't really. It is 81 degrees down here in Mobile, Alabama. It's hot, man. And I told my friends I'm a DMV guy about it in my heart now. I know y'all got great weather up here right now, but no, man. Like I said, it's like home. That's where I've started my adult life. I came there when I was 22. I'm leaving at 32. 24. Yeah, I came in at 24, 23, and I'm leaving at 32, man. So, like I said, that's the second home for me. And I just love the community. I actually have family there. They've been there way before I got to the team. But I just made so many friends, built such a big community that extends to the furthest ends that people don't even know or care too much about, Ravens or the NFL. Just because of, God put me in great rooms and around great people. So, like I said, Baltimore is always the second home for me. Like I said, maybe one day I'll come up there and scout and live there again. But no, man, I have so much love for this city. It's like I said, man, I consider myself a DMV guy not only for the weather, but it's just where I built.
Well, you're saying
a mass of friendships and great times.
You're saying a 300-pound man. The heat is a little bit different in Alabama than it is when you're walking around. There've been a lot of I feel like it's offensive linemen over the years. Like the moment they get out of football, they change their shape. They change everything about. Like, are you doing the same thing? Are you like completely detoxing and saying, I
I'm
can't?
not gonna lie to you, brother. I hired a bodybuilding coach. So I always love to lift weights. So I'm always going to lift weights. But he does my diet now. He does all my nutritional things. So, that's the first thing I knew I needed to do was get hooked up with a guy who can help me lean out, help me drop all this unnecessary weight, and I don't have to take on double teams any longer. So, man, we definitely on that journey. There's no need to be walking around heavy any longer. So, man, like I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time, and like I said, it's just a different phase of life now that comes with a lot more cardio. Not fun, but necessary.
I was going to say this answers the other question, which is if there were to be two defensive linemen that got hurt, like in January, and the Ravens are trying to win a Super Bowl, you're saying don't even bother calling. I'm not going to be in shape. It's not happening.
Outside of a miracle. My weight regimen is completely different, unfortunately.
I get it, man. I get it. Michael Pierce, I can't tell you how happy I am for you, man. Truly, one of the best people that I've ever gotten to know. And there's a lot of people on that list. It's funny you say that maybe one day it works out that way. Is it the purposeful plan to be doing something football related in the coming years?
Yes. I'm actually at some point going to try to talk with the Senior Bowl down here in Mobile.
Oh yeah.
Just get connected with those guys. They just had a whole, I guess, staff overhaul. They had Jim Nagy go to Oklahoma as a GM. So now they just hired a new guy. I forget his name. This just happened recently. But once he gets in, I'll try to see if there's any way I can be of assistance, and then go from there. And if not, I briefly spoke to Mr. DaCosta about maybe wanting to scout.
Man.
So I'll brush that subject. And like I said, I have a boss ahead of me now. That's my wife. And if she gives me the okay, I'm always down to move back and help the organization if I can.
We could get a.
We'll deal with that down the road. But as of right now, focus on things at home.
One day, maybe a Michael Pierce Ravens Super Bowl ring is still in the cards. That's what I like the sounds of. I think that would be wonderful. Michael,
Hopefully so. Hopefully so, brother.
you're the best, man. Thank you for everything. The joy that you brought on the football field, all the time you took for us, and everything you did for this community. Love you. Appreciate you. Thank you for hopping on with us this morning, man.
Love you too, brother.